You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your wildest dreams. You are welcome, holy welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way.
Good morning, St. George. Welcome to the Centers for Spiritual Living Sunday celebration. I'm Bill Smith, and I'll be your flight attendant today. This flight is headed toward divine inspiration. If that is not the flight that you intended to be on today, I recommend you go ahead and buckle in and enjoy the ride. Today we're going to be talking about radical interconnection, and I want to welcome all of you this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening, depending on when you're watching this. Our purpose at Centers for Spiritual Living in St. George is to love, teach, guide, and support a spiritual community in creating and living a life that they love, that we love, using science of mind and spirit principles and practices. Our vision, CSL St. George, is a community-focused center actively living, sharing, and nurturing its members and friends so that all may live their best lives. Our mission, CSL St. George is an open, inclusive, and evolving spiritual community that supports its purpose and vision through the following points. First is sacred wisdom celebrations, such as what we're enjoying right now. The second is by empowering transformative education. And we'll talk later in the service about our upcoming class that actually starts on Tuesday. Youth and young adult programs, something that's in the planning stages for us. Dynamic music ministry, as you'll hear Alan Stanley being very dynamic today with his music. Community inreach and community outreach, something that we feel strongly about. Today's service team, I've already introduced myself. I'll be your host and also back for the invocation. Behind the curtain is Tony Kovach. She is our tech today and making all these things appear and disappear in just perfect and divine order. Our music today will be from Alan Stanley. Always brings along some good tunes and raises that level of energy by doing that. Our reading today is from Stephanie Sterrett, another one of the practitioners here at Centers for Spiritual Living St. George. And our talk today is from our own Reverend Joe Kovach, and I'm sure it'll be very riveting. Always is. There's Alan right now.
Alan. Hello, Bill.
Come on in. Good morning, Alan.
Dynamic. I'm feeling pretty dynamic today.
I can tell.
So we're going to start out with a slow song, dynamic slow song. And Bill will come back, I believe, and offer our invocation, and then we'll finish it off. So just please sit back and relax, sing along. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And when I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here, right now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. Once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here, right now.
I invite you to join me in this morning's invocation. And invocation is really, it's just we invoke the image and the presence of God. And while we know that that's not possible to actually change God, we do know that this invocation and invoking that presence is actually happening within ourselves. So I invite you to join me. As we come together for this celebration this morning, I know that we do so in the presence of the one life, the one mind, the one true power in this universe. And I know that this true power lives in me, and I live in it. And I know that every one of us within the power of my voice today is also one with this power. And this power, I know in this service today, is present in each and every one of us. And that presence stirs as Reverend Joe's message comes through, and as Alan's music pours through our pores of our body, just elevating our energy level and our vibrational level, to make a change, in each and every one of us. So I just know that it is perfect and it is right, and I just let it be so. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Bill. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And when I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here, right now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And when I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here, right now. Love is my decision right here, right now. Now we'd like to bring Stephanie in to offer our reading today. Hello, Stephanie.
Hi, how are you, Alan? It's great to see you.
Great to be seen.
Okay, so for today's reading, I chose in the Science of Mind magazine today's thing from Eugene Holden, and I really liked it because it's titled "Peace, Be Still." So recognize the ultimate emptiness of things. Steady yourself in stillness and achieve inner peace. That's by Lao Tzu from the Tao Te Ching. And from Ernest Holmes, you should take daily time to rise above any sense of confusion. As you do this, you will feel a stillness at the center of your being. And he goes on to write, peace doesn't come from outside of us. Peace is something that comes from deep within our knowing that we are surrounded by a presence, a substance that we can use for our good. You may think you don't have time to meditate or be still. The truth is, We do not have time not to. We must connect with the source of our being, which is within. When we talk about becoming still, what we mean is quieting the mind. This requires that we not be distracted by what the news shows us every day or the shenanigans going on in the office. We must exert a committed effort not to allow these things to distract us from being the life we were created to be. If you can carve out time every day to just sit in stillness, it doesn't have to be for a long time. In fact, 5 minutes would be sufficient. And personally, 5 minutes 3 or 4 times a day is a piece of cake once you start doing it. As the saying goes, if we want to see peace in the world, we must recognize peace within ourselves first. And his affirmation is, I am the peace of the divine. I live this day in peace. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Stephanie. So it is. So I've been here with the Center for Spiritual Living in St. George now just a little bit over 6 years. And not only has it contributed to my spiritual growth, it also has had a great effect on this old Nashville country boys music. So I've lately, this year or last year, I've been asked to do Rainbow Connection by Kermit the Frog, Somewhere Over the Rainbow by Judy Garland, I Feel Good by James Brown, and a Cyndi Lauper song. So I've just gone ahead on my own and picked something out here by Jackie DeShannon. Sing along if you can. I know you can. Think of your fellow man, lend him a helping hand, put a little love in your heart. You see it's getting late, oh please don't hesitate, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait and see. Another day goes by, still the children cry, put a little love in your heart. If you don't want the world to know, we won't let hatred grow, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait and see. Take a look around. If you're looking down, put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide kindness will be your guide, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait and see. All right now, put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. There's no other way. Put a little love in your heart. It's up to you. Put a little love in your heart. Come on now. Put a little love in your heart. We've got to put a little love in our heart.
Very good, Alan. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I think since I've been here in the past couple of years, you have really branched out musically, and I think your musical diversity is surpassed only by your loving kindness, Alan. So thank you very much. All right, so today we have our own Reverend Joe Kovach is going to join us and do a little talk for us. Put a little love in our hearts.
I'm going to do my best. Do you have a little love in your heart, Bill?
Just a little bit. I've got a toothpick. I'm trying to get it out now, but
You're not a Grinch, are you? Right?
No.
Thank you. And I agree with you absolutely. Alan has been absolutely expanding his library. It's fascinating to watch, isn't it?
It is. It's fun. Yeah.
Yes. And thank you. All right. Good morning, CSL St. George. Another fantastic Sunday. In a weird way, it feels like it's been a while since I've seen you, yet it's only been a week. So that's just time doing its thing. How are you this morning? February 16th already in 2025. Are you making changes in your life? Are you being radical about your interconnection? Oh, that sounds like stereo instructions. Are you being radical about your interconnection? But that's what we're talking about this month, is being interconnected, because let's face it, we're not going to get through this life without interacting with others. And there is a way that we can handle that, cope with that, deal with that, respond to the others in a way that makes all of our lives more meaningful. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Today's talk title is The Art of Mindful Living. And so I'm going to start with a little bit of a short reading, and it comes from the book Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet from Thich Nhat Hanh. And he's quoting someone named Sister True Dedication. And what she says is, when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. marched into downtown Chicago against the Vietnam War on March 25th, 1967, a few months after he and Thay, so Thay is Thich Nhat Hanh, that's, she refers to him as Thay. So just a few months after they met, they did so under a banner in English and Vietnamese that read, men are not our enemies. If we kill men, with whom shall we live? Thay and Dr. King shared that insight. That is not other people who are our enemies. Instead, our enemies are anger, resentment, hatred, fear, and discrimination. It was by concentrating on this insight that Thay, Sister Chang Kong, and their social workers in Vietnam were able to stay neutral and not take sides during the Vietnam War. The path of not hating the enemy is a profoundly spiritual practice. Dr. King once said that if we have enough spirituality and ethics, we'll be able to replace hate with love. And that's just a beautiful start to today's talk. That was one of the most positively shifting times in at least Western societies, the United States history, to just someone come out and say, hey, we got to love each other. You know, we sang about it, but we didn't have people on the streets, people that were well known, especially in religion and politics, talking about getting along. And it sounds so basic, and yet we grow up and we take on a lot of stuff that doesn't serve us. In Science of Mind, we teach that, of course, our thoughts create our reality. And therefore, what we pay attention to is what is real to us. It's as real as it real can be, whether we're going to say this world is real or not. It's as real as it is, in the sense of, if I break my arm, there's real ramifications that I'm going to feel and experience. So real or not, we're experiencing this here and now. And so as we pay attention to what we like, in essence, there's a thing called biased attention, right? So we, in essence, are selectively focusing on the things that confirms our views, and we ignore the other data that comes into our life. So that's why we kind of are only going to witness what we expect to witness. If we wake up and say, hey, this is a beautiful day, I can't wait for everything to turn out my way, that's how it always happens, I am so loved, I am so blessed, let's go, 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 then no matter what shows up in my life that day, I'm starting from this place of just welcoming it, no resistance. or I could wake up on the other side of the pillow, as they say. Now, as we're thinking about all of these thoughts that we're having, and obviously can be daunting to just uncover all of our biases, all of our hidden beliefs, because in essence, we are the sum of all of our beliefs and biases and paradigms and so forth, plus throw in those of other people that we're living with. And where we kind of get backwards on this is we try to start changing the outside world, and we can't do that. But what we can do to change our experience is to change our perceptions of what is going on. That's how change is possible. Now, maybe you're not new to us, and maybe it's like, okay, I get it. I know thoughts create my world. Don't let my circumstances affect us. And I'm going to say, ask you a simple question. How many times this week, was there at least one time that you allowed the situation or circumstance that you were in to dictate how you felt or what you thought? Because if so, then we're allowing the outside and we're living by those circumstances. Now, to what degree matters, right? So we're not saying just none of that matters, but if we, going back to my example last week about coffee being spilled from the cup, the reason the coffee was spilled, because that's what was in the cup. So what's coming out of us? If I continue to react to everything I don't like, then that is, again, the biasness that I'm expecting. Things are always going to happen that I'm aggravated with, and then I get more to be aggravated with. So Ernest Holmes, let's start out with him, our founder. He says, we exist in limitless opportunities, which are forever seeking expression through us. Destroy the thought that would place limitation or bondage upon any situation or condition. Talk to yourself. What great advice. Not to the world. There is no one to talk to but yourself, for all experience takes place within. Conditions are the reflections of our meditations and nothing else. There is but one mind. That mind is our mind now. It never thinks confusion, knows what it wishes, and how to accomplish what it desires. It is what it desires. It, meaning spirit, God, source. It is all that is, including myself, including you, including everything we're experiencing. And we say this, but how do we get to the point to where we recognize it as truth? Well, go back to what Ernest Holmes is saying, is we get unlimited opportunities, limitless. And so all these things that keep coming up, we will continue to react to until we choose otherwise, and we choose to respond. You know, I hear a lot in our community, because it's one of the well-known phrases is CSL, we're creating a world that works for all. But then I pause and I wonder, how often do we really look at what that means? Like, who decides what works for all? Who decides what is included in that? And is that really our job? Or is our job, in essence, to know and be intimate with the presence of spirit within ourselves and teach others to do the same, but through their own highest and best intent, right? Now, as humans, we seek meaning. We seek, we have to know why things are going on. It's natural. And the longest traditions of experiencing this is we do this through stories. And stories, because they give meaning to our lives. Stories help us understand why the world is the way it is, and help us to understand our place in it currently. And we can even, hear a story and go, oh, that's why I went through that, and still make that past, help make that past a better present. So we get our stories from family. We get our stories from cultural traditions, societal traditions, education, just throughout our whole lives. And not, again, it's what's going on and where you're at. So pause and think about the stories that you have told yourself about the world just this week. They may be short stories, right? This world's going to hell. That's a powerful story you're telling yourself. I just, I've just never been good at it, so it's just the way it is. Those are the cards I'm dealt. It's another story you're telling yourself. Now think about this. No matter how old you are, how has your story changed from even when you were 5 years old to like maybe when you were 10 years old? How did your view of the world change? And maybe what were some of the stories that helped you change your story? Right? How about when we went through middle school, right? What stories did you take in then, and how did those stories affect you? Or high school, or if you're older, how did your stories change after your first child? Or after a deep loss in your life of someone that you loved, or something, and even a pet, or a divorce? All these are the stories that we take in, and if we are not being diligent within our minds and stand guard and know who we want to be specifically and decisively, then we're just letting everything in and saying, okay, yeah. And that's why we say the world is chaotic, because our inner world is chaotic. And do we ever pause to even just think about where these stories come from? What is the source? Because when we say yes to a story, and we're giving that story power in essence to sit in our mind and either be an investment, a poor or a positive investment in who we say we are. Think about that. Who have we said yes to today? Now, as a counselor, it's funny because someone's telling me their story and I'm usually nodding my head and I say I understand. And yet there's this part of my mind that says, whoo, okay, not something I want to go through. But I can understand where they've come from, even if I've never been through something like that, because I have my own idea of trauma, of pain, of discontent, of being stuck, of feeling hopeless and helpless. I have my own levels of that. But it's important for me to recognize that that is not my story that I'm hearing and take it home and make it a part of my life. And let me tell you, every person who works with other people, we have to be on guard about that. But no matter who you are, no matter what your profession is, this is a very basic foundational practice. And part of spiritual growth is to begin to critically examining our stories and looking for the places where our stories may lead to separation rather than unity. Lead to that gap between me feeling the oneness and wholeness of the presence of God and just feeling like a minion, right? There's this big, powerful God out there, and I'm not that, and woe is me. The stories we live by, we then create behaviors to support. So we build this protection around, and this is who I am, and let us support that. And our ego will go to war to defend it. So if that's the case, because this is saying this is something important within us, then we really need to pay attention to what our stories are in the world. And it's important to also remember that no one story, so to speak, is true, but what's true about it is our interpretation. Again, think about it. Everyone who listening can go see a movie, and every one of us will have a different story about that movie. Which one is true? So the point's not to stop telling stories, not to stop listening to stories, but simply become aware of the stories that we are telling ourselves are for us. Now, change is important. And a lot of times we make our changes based on the things we observe. That's why there is an other. So we can do this, right? And so a mature spiritual being, to me, is one who is radically responsible for the stories and the belief systems that they take in, they embrace, and allow to lead their lives by. This is why the art of mindful living, our talk title, is so important. We're being mindful of the present story, in this present moment, the story that we are saying and that we are living from, and that our behaviors and our feelings are supporting or not. So it's a great example. there was a troubled monk, and he goes to his abbot for guidance. And after listening intently, the abbot asks the monk to join him on a walk. They arrive at a pond near the back of the monastery, and the abbot asks the monk to pick up a stone and toss it into the center of the pond. And the monk says, okay, grabs a stone, throws it in. Now, said the abbot, as the ripples come closer to the shore, I want you to stick your finger in the water and try to stop them. And so the monk does as he's asked. And he notices that when he sticks his finger and he's trying to block the ripples that come, and he realizes it just creates more ripples. So the confused monk looks at his mentor and he says, Abbot, I can't. My actions just cause more ripples to happen. So the abbot smiles and says, so you cannot stop the ripples? No, says the monk. And then the abbot asks an important question. He says, but could you have stopped yourself from tossing the stone into the pond in the first place? Let that sink in. Right? What are we doing? Everything we do causes ripples for someone else. We have to be aware of that. Now, at the same time, okay, a lot of other people, we live in this world together, one giant pond, so to speak. And we can't change the ripples that are caused by someone else, right? We just create more. So if there's something coming at us that we don't like and we just step up and fight it, we're creating more ripples of the same or greater magnitude of the thing that we don't even want. So in this art of mindful living, a responsible spiritual being will be mindful of how they are responding to the other ripples that are coming to their shore. They're part of the shore. That's a profound and yet simple way of looking at it. So when we're simply reacting to other things happening to us, we're on autopilot, and all we're doing is mucking up our own waters when we just want peace. Going back to Ernest Holmes, he says there is but one presence in the universe. Since it is in and through everything, it must be in and through you. This presence manifests itself in and through all forms, all people, all conditions. This presence is life itself. So, what do we mean? Well, in this analogy I just gave, this metaphor, stone, the stone thrower, the pond, the shore, the ripples, the water, it's all an emanation of the divine. It starts and ends with source. There's only one. But we're living in this experience in order to help us grow. And so we experience others. We experience others as not being divine. And we are, in essence, reteaching and re-knowing and re-recognizing not only ourselves as divine, but all others. Now, last week, I brought up a topic, mentioned Indra's net, and how the nodes of everywhere that the net crossed reflected all the other nodes. And I learned something. I was reading something this week, and I was like, ooh, that's a good point to make. And there's a difference between the words reflection, simply a reflection, and the word that we use quite often is emanation, and especially in science of mind teaching. So a reflection is simply a mirror image of something else, but it doesn't contain the same essence, right? And therefore, it's a reflection of the original, but it has no piece, no energy of the original. Whereas an emanation we talk about all the time contains the same essence as the original, and I'm going to use the word spirit. So we are emanations of the one, meaning no matter what, our true source, our true beingness is the same as the one, but we are not simply a reflection of it, meaning we have presence, we have power, we have life within us. So I want to share a personal story about just kind of how people can have shifts and how that kind of going back to Wayne Dyer, he's the first person I heard say that when we change the way we look at things, our perception, the things we look at will change. So I was working in the Clark County Detention Center for a while, teaching basically what we know now before I even knew what it was called. So I was just calling it self-empowerment and self-love techniques. And so I'm in the jail. I was in a class full of males and of all ages. And we were having a conversation, actually from Wayne Dyer's book, The Power of Intention, on reputation. And we were reading and talking about it. And the idea is that reputation, especially in a place like a jail, is something that we can't control. Because a reputation, by definition, is what others think about us. And so there was a brand new gentleman in my class. And he was, if I recall, in his 50s, and shouted out, that's a bunch of wah-wah. And I said, well, I invited him into a conversation. I said, well, why is that, why do you believe that? He says, what do you mean? I determine how other people see me. He says, I can tell you right now. He says, way back, I was 5 years old and I was playing in school, and some kid took the truck I wanted and just came over and took it. So I walked over, I punched him in the face, and I got my truck back. He says, now that's reputation. And I said, well, you definitely created a reputation for yourself, but you can't control how the other students or children in the room felt about you. And I did say this, and I said, and thank you for letting us know why you're here with us today. And he didn't get that at first, and he had to think about it. And he's, tried to be tough. And I'm going to say my students, especially the ones that have been there for a while, really got the message that I was trying to get. And he says, what do you mean? I said, well, how old are you? And I know he was in his 50s. And I said, well, then to me, what you're sharing with us is the reason that you're here today at, let's say, 55 is because you're still acting like you're 5. You haven't changed. Now, of course, he didn't like that, but I had him sit with that, and he did. And we had a wonderful talk afterwards, and he got it. And so his view, his perception, this belief thing, again, that he built all these behaviors around, this is the way he was living. This is what was true. And it was true for him. And yet there was a greater truth. And I invited him to see that. Very powerful lesson, And then, we can take that a step further. One of the things that helped me in my life with the opportunities to interact physically with others was when I heard the phrase, the idea that the stronger man walks away from a fight than he knows he can win and avoids them altogether in the end. It was something like that. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, because for a while, when someone picked on me, that was it. That was your choice. You could run away and be a coward. That was a story. But I never looked at it as being wiser, because what was I going to get out of it one way or the other? In the times that I did successfully defend myself, I didn't feel good about it. So it was a lose-lose situation. How many times do we do that to ourselves? How many times do you put yourself in a lose-lose situation because you're not living mindfully? Right? Take that in. Another major shift I had, I was a little older. I was watching an HBO special, and I love my bachelor's degree is in psychology, and I love understanding how and why people think the way they do. And there was an interview. I don't remember his real name, and they called him the Iceman, and basically he was a hitman, and so he murdered people for a living. And you're like, why would you want to learn about that? I just did. It was, to me, fascinating. And he, in the beginning of the interview, would just kind of gloat about the things he did. He wasn't super graphic, but, it was shocking. It was disturbing to my soul. And then the interviewer asked him a question about, did you ever do something that, like, are there rules? Are there ethics? Did you ever do something that you weren't happy with? And I won't go into details, but he explained the situation. And then, this whole time, and this is a big individual. He's not small. He doesn't look crazy. He had a family, scary, kind of disturbing enough. He had kids and so forth. He explained why, and his head would go off to this, just like that. I'm imitating him. And then I just saw it. Like, he realized that all of it was wrong that he was doing. And I just was able to peer into his eyes through the TV. And it just, to me, now you're like, it did so much have to do with that individual. But in that moment, there was like this a spiritual shift within me that I'm like, I bet everybody feels that way at some point. No matter how evil the deed is, when we hurt other people, there's something within us when we just pause and maybe tilt our head and go, that is not who I want to be. And so for me, it took this extreme kind of a case to notice it in the beginning, but then I began to notice it in others. And of course, and recognizing the reflection coming back to me is, that was, where in my life am I really living out of sorts? Am I living saying, oh, this is what I believe, but ooh, maybe there's a better way. And so that comes to like one of the things we could do to begin to live more mindfully and have it as an art, is to really recognize the first things that come out of our mouth or into our mind when we get poked, prodded, or triggered. Because those first thoughts are generally the most unfiltered and generally reflect our deepest hidden beliefs. So it's something that we can make a habit of noticing. Now, in the beginning, we're gonna be, and then we're gonna have to pause and do and look back and go, oh, what was I really thinking? What was I really saying? But then eventually, we'll be doing it quicker and quicker and make that shift from one habit that is no longer serving us to a more mindful habit. A habit meaning doing something habitually that is supporting the way that we want to be. Pema Chodron says, oh, wait, ooh, did I skip one? I didn't have a, sorry, leave it, Tony, it's my bad. I just wanted to share this one. There was no slide for it. But she says, transformation occurs only when we remember, and I love this, breath by breath, year after year, to move toward our emotional distress without condemning or justifying our experience. Maybe I should have put that on a slide. That's really good. So again, transformation occurs only when we remember, breath by breath, year after year, to move toward our emotional distress without condemning or justifying our experience. So where we feel that, and we try to avoid it, move toward it. Because in the end, that's the only thing that's going to transform it into the truth of what it is, which is love. Transformation to happen, we have to be flexible. And again, going back to, because I loved Wayne Dyer, I still love him, but in the beginning, it was so transformational. And he even used the example of a palm tree and like 80, 90, 110, 120 mile an hour winds. And this thing's just flexible in the wind, blowing back and forth, not a problem. But if it were to try to resist, then it would be ripped right out of the ground. And so now I want to switch back to Ernest Holmes, where he says, realizing that you may, in your ignorance, have been using the power of your mind negatively, not because you are evil, but because of human ignorance, superstition, and fear, which to a certain degree permeates every person's thought. You are not going to condemn yourself nor anyone else because of this. If the light has come, the thing to do is use it, forgetting the darkness. So what Ernest Holmes is advising us is that once we have the aha moment, once we have the mindful moment of saying, you know what, this is really, why do I say this? Why do I do that? It could be the smallest thing. It's still better to change it and not make ourselves wrong or beat ourselves up. Yes, now that we know we can do better, we will do better. That's the point. And if we have trouble doing better, then get help to do. And first, you got to be better so you can do better. So it could be something so simple. I picked up a number of years ago that when someone would say, how are you doing? Even when I started with a positive, I would always, for some reason, throw in a negative. And not necessarily like rude, but just like, yeah, I'm feeling good, but I didn't sleep well. I'm feeling good, but I got this ache and pain. I'm feeling good, but the weather. I'm feeling good, but. And the but always brought down the beginning. And people wouldn't even say anything about it, but I noticed it. And in the beginning, I was like, why are you being so negative? And I would chastise myself and beat myself up. And now if I've changed it for the most part, permanently. But if I ever do that again, or even whenever I make a mistake, I'm much more gentle with myself, because that's what's going to get me to the place I want to be anyway, is being more gentle. So it is a lifelong practice to recognize and free ourselves from these hidden belief systems and biases that we're living from. And here's the thing, folks, it's an infinite life. So there's no end. So we're not trying to rid ourselves of all, but in essence, just continue to raise our frequency as we're going through this world, so that we continue to attract, co-create, live, and exist within a world that we are, in essence, choosing for ourselves. As Ram Dass taught, be here now, right? Be here in this present moment. In other words, you're choosing what's happening within the present moment to a certain degree, but we're definitely choosing of how we perceive it and how we respond to it. So how is the world that you're living in? Right? Think about the first thought that came to your mind. That's a key. Thich Nhat Hanh says, many of us get swept away by events and situations around us and by whatever we see and hear. We lose ourselves. This is why we must also cultivate freedom from the crowd. When you have real freedom, even if the crowd is shouting or going in one direction, you can still be yourself. You're not swept away by the emotions of the majority. So, I want to say it was the teachings of Abraham that taught, and I know it was in other books of wisdom, but basically said 1 million people can be pushing against you and have no effect, because you are your own center of divinity. You have that much power. It is you, I, who choose where that power is going to go. Do we believe and invest in that power, or are we giving it away? So a couple key things I want to take just out of Science of Mind: the idea that principle, truth, is not bound by precedent, meaning what happened before, saying that analogy like, oh, this has always happened, it's just the way it is not spiritually actually true. It is that way because that's how you continue to expect it and think about it. And that's your belief system. That's your story. And you built all these things to support that story. And so that's what you're going to experience until I make a change. Right? That's just the way it is. We are always at choice. Another foundational teaching of Science of Mind is love and law make up the entirety of reality and cannot be, the word he uses is subverted, meaning it can't be undermined. Everything is love and law. So it's either love and the movement of love, moving in and moving out. That's the nature of our reality, as is the nature of our reality also that with the fact that we, what's to say, as within, so without, right? As above, so below. So what's happening within me, I'm going to experience again, that cup of coffee, what's coming out of me. If I'm not sure, let's pay attention to those first thoughts and phrases that come out of our mouths, our first reactions. And finally, if we want to transform the world, then we obviously first must start with ourselves and transform ourselves. So I came up with this acronym, and I want to share it with you. I like it so much that I'm going to ask what you think of it, to email me, because I think this would be a great talking point that if someone said, oh, what is CSL St. George, or what do you teach? I think this would be a simple way to recognize and remind them. So here we go. So my first thing is awareness. A for awareness, right? It's the beginning of everything. We have to start with noticing what we're noticing. The next would be R for radical responsibility. So once we start noticing what we're noticing, we need to take complete responsibility, not blame, responsibility. We own it so we can change it. Going back to the idea of that, what are the ripples that we are casting out into the world? Because those will bounce and come back to us. I, it's an inside out focus. So we work within to change the circumstances and events. Otherwise, we're living a to-me life, and we feel disempowered because we are disempowered. We have taken ourselves out of the equation. And S for spirit is all there is. And when we come from this place, we have to believe it, we have to declare it, and we have to notice it in our lives always. That is the only thing happening, is spirit. And then, here we go, the last one, arise is our word. And it's my favorite mantra, which is everyone's doing the best they can with what they have and where they're at. And so am I. I'm doing the best I can. So take that in, maybe take a picture of it. This is your, in essence, part of your homework is to let me know, try it out. Let me know what you think. Maybe go up to someone and say, hey, I go to the spiritual center and this is who we are. And does it make sense? And what does it think? Because instead of reading off our purpose, to me, this is something that actually brings you into a conversation with someone. Now, moving on a little bit, I neglected to mention that we're in the season of, let me change the slide here. There we go. Of peace and nonviolence. It started back at the end of January. And it basically was created many moons ago. It starts with the celebration, remind me of this, with the anniversary of Mohandas Gandhi's assassination, and ends with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. And the obviously focus is unity, is to oneness, wholeness, and obviously peace. Now, also happening this week, in fact, tomorrow, is Random Acts of Kindness Day. And so what a great opportunity for us to put all this into practice today, the art of mindful living, noticing the stones that we are casting, noticing the stories that we're taking and saying yes to. We will also notice other people's stories. That's their story. Okay, we're not trying to change others. We're working at just changing ourselves. And then going back to the arise, awareness, radical responsibility, inside out, spirit is all, and everyone's doing their best. And we will go to our practice, which is affirmations. And our affirmation is simply, I am ever mindful of the ways my life force ripples out into the world. And so I ask you now to join me in closing in prayer. And I'm going to close my eyes because it helps me focus inside out, where I can simply recognize that perfect pond of presence, of spirit, of God, of love, of joy. And I get to dip in it all day long by choice. And as I choose to, I recognize and become aware of maybe some investments that I have made, some stories that I tell myself that no longer serve me for my best and highest good. Maybe they did serve me at one point, but I, like the palm tree, am willing to be flexible and make some positive changes in my life, to invest in a greater knowing and understanding of myself and of others. I choose to not simply react and respond to circumstances, but so know the presence of the divine within myself that I cannot be swayed to know anything lesser than who I am now. Only more God, only more spirit, more love, more joy. I am so grateful for our spiritual home of CSL St. George. In my mind, I continue to see it grow. And in reality, I continue to see it grow, with new people continuing to show up to all the in-person services, to the leadership team that is in the process of finding our new perfect home, to the volunteers, to the greater community, to our home office, to Ernest Homes, and all the wise sages that have shared their troubles, tribulations, and knowledge and wisdom with us. We are grateful. We stand on the shoulders of giants, as it is said, and yet we recognize ourselves as that giant as well. For there is only one life being lived. Grateful, 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 and so it is. Bring on Bill.
Thank you, Reverend Joe. What an excellent talk that was.
Thank you.
I didn't get a chance to take a picture of your acronym, but I wrote it down, ARISE, and I think it's going to get a rise out of me. So yeah, and I will give you some feedback on that as well.
I'm looking forward to it.
And maybe we can talk about that at the Zoom call afterwards.
That would be a wonderful invitation. Thank you, Bill.
Will you join us there, please?
I will be there.
Okay, great. Looking forward to it. All right. So we have a few announcements before we close today. Things that you got to know. And yes, thank you, Reverend Joe. That was great. First is about abundant prosperity. We have multiple ways to contribute to the center, to the ongoing prosperity and growth of our center. We can obviously all this is available at any point in time on the newsletter or on our website. If you'd like to give online, there is a PayPal code at that website, or you can just use the QR code if you want to pull this one back up on the screen and open it up with your phone. It'll take you there. Or you can give a check by mail, by snail mail. CSLG, what are we called? CSL St. George, P.O. Box 3132 in St. George 84771. And we are grateful for all forms of offering, and we do offer this offering affirmation. I am overflowing with love and abundance. I give from the source of my being, which is rich and unlimited. With joy and excitement, I share from this overflow. In return, the universe gives back to me in infinite ways, infinite channels, and infinite means. And so it is. So thank you for all who give on a regular basis, and for those of you who just kind of do it on a one as you feel it. We appreciate it all. Okay, our next in-person service 2 weeks from today, February 23rd, at the Masonic Center. Letting go, a new way of being together. And that will be Reverend Rachel will be giving that talk on that Sunday. If you would like details, you can also find those in the newsletter or our website. Look forward to seeing everybody there. Prayer requests. I am one of the 5 practitioners at our center, and all 5 of us are available for a moment of prayer at any point in time. If you'd like to join us during the Zoom call today, we can go to a separate prayer room if you'd like, and do prayer that way. Or you can go to the website, CSLStGeorge.org, CSLSG.org, and just click on any of the practitioners' pictures in the About page, and that'll send an email directly to us. We will engage the other practitioners to pray with for you, and that's a good way to start there. So anyway, more details in the newsletter on that, or the website. Sorry. We are still taking applications for our core council. Our core council is a fantastic organization that kind of makes sure that everything happens properly. Takes fiducial responsibility for the center. We are accepting applications today and for the next month or so, as we will be at our annual meeting in April. We will be voting on and swearing in new members of our core council. So if that's something that would be interesting to you, talk to any of the core council members. Again, more details on the newsletter or the website. Upcoming class, Tuesday, essentially 2 days from now, we have an upcoming class. It's called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life, which is pretty central to our philosophy here. Reverend Rachel is going to be giving that class. It's a 5-week class. I believe that it's actually a 6-week class. It'll be on Zoom. Again, it starts on the 18th at 6 o'clock Mountain Time. It is a $50 investment, which is a really good deal. I've paid much more than that for less than that in classes. So again, check the website and look forward to seeing you there. Our Zoom conversation at noon, and it's right now. We will be closing here shortly, and I'll see you over there on the Zoom call. Oh yeah, there's more. As I mentioned, on the 23rd, we do have an in-person service. Reverend Rachel will be talking about letting go, a new way of being together. And then in March, Reverend Joe will be back on Zoom, actually on StreamYard on this channel, navigating the tides of life. We also have, I believe, we have a service next week, which didn't get mentioned on the. I'm sorry. Next week is the 23rd. Excuse me. All right. Now I think it is time for our closing affirmation. Tony's pulling everybody up. And I think we're all here. All right. I'll kick us off. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called life.
Life is in my mind. Life is in my body. Life is in all that I do.
I am it, I embrace it, and I share it just the way that it is.
And just the way that it is becoming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Life. Love you. Namaste.
Thank you, everyone.
See you on Zoom.